Well, folks, I'm back once again doing another video game review, and this time I'm reviewing Venom and Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, and it was released for the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and it was made by Acclaim, and it is pretty much based on the series of Spider-Man comic books of the same name called Venom and Spider-Man Maximum Carnage. And if you pretty much read those comic books, you know what you're getting, and the plot of the game is pretty much the same as these series of Spider-Man comics, and the cutscenes that's in the game are actually from Maximum Carnage, the Maximum Carnage comic books. Now, this particular game is pretty similar to other beat 'em ups that made on the Super Nintendo and Super Nintendo, like Final Fight and Streets of Rage on Sega Genesis. And you pretty much spend time throughout the game fighting street punks and stuff, and you can get like you can fill your health with hearts, and you can throw trash cans at enemies too. And pretty much, of course, the game takes place in New York City, where you pretty much fighting street punks through the course of the game. And the only Marvel characters you will run into are the symbiotes that's pretty much considered an offspring of Venom, and they're pretty much the antagonists in the game, much like the comic books. And you will run into some of the superheroes too, like Black Cat and Captain America. And as far as Spider-Man and Venom is concerned, they're fighting. What they do as far as their fighting styles, or there are some similarities and differences between them, and it's based on their powers and stuff. And one thing about it, you can punch them, throw them, kick them, pretty much every cliche thing you could do gameplay wise in a beat 'em up, which includes like a particular special move. And I do believe this is the first Spider-Man beat 'em up game that appears on Super Nintendo and Genesis. As far as the graphics and gameplay, the graphics and level design are concerned, they're pretty good from an overall standpoint. It's just in my opinion, the Super Nintendo version of Maximum Carnage has the slight edge over the Genesis version, and the level design of the game, whether it's the Genesis version or Super Nintendo version, just reminds me of like Streets of Rage or the Final Fight and stuff. And as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's pretty decent on both versions. This like I would obviously prefer the Super Nintendo version, mainly because of the design of the Super Nintendo controller itself. And as far as the soundtrack, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie about that. It is pretty good. It's just that the Super Nintendo version, I just prefer the soundtrack. To me, it's better on the Super Nintendo. I'm not saying that the Genesis versions suck in these areas. Since I'm like more of a fan of Super Nintendo, I pretty much prefer the Maximum Carnage a little bit better than the Genesis version. Plus, you do have to go back to the fact that beat 'em ups from Super Nintendo had an edge on the had a slight edge on the Genesis on the beat 'em ups on Genesis. I'm pretty much saying. Uh, Venom and Spider-Man Maximum Carnage overall, it's pretty much a decent game whether you whether you play the Super Nintendo or the Genesis version of it. It's just that it's not as good as Final Fight, the Streets of Rage games, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in time. But it is a game that I would recommend, but only to like people who are Spider-Man fans, and I would recommend in terms of, as far as console is concerned, it depends on which console who the gamer like prefers from a raw standpoint. If they prefer the Genesis, I'll tell them, hey, get the Genesis version. If they prefer the Super Nintendo, I'll tell them get the Super Nintendo version. That's how I would treat that. And how far as a score, I would definitely give it a 6. It's just like I said, it's not bad, but it's like Spider-Man Spider-Man's Venom Maximum Carnage is kind of on the cliche side. Not that cliche is the wrong word that I want to use. The better word is it's mediocre. It's kind of on the mediocre side, you know. But if you want like better beat 'em ups from a raw standpoint, if you have like a Super Nintendo, go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, or in the Final Fight games. And if you happen to have a Genesis, I would recommend the Streets of Rage games. Even Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Hyperstorm. You know. Now, with that being said, if you like Venom and Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, you can mention it in the comment section. If you like this video review of the game, you can mention it in the comment section also, and you can and don't hesitate to click the thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe. This is your boy Big Metroid Fan 12 signing off.